All right, my friend, if you're watching and listening to this program, congratulations. You have just made it through what appears and feels like the longest January in history. We have survived all kinds of events that has happened. We've seen domestic terrorism. We've seen a bizarre incident that happened in Vegas with an exploding vehicle. We've seen drone incursions that to this day, we still haven't gotten a full disclosure on what they even mean and what their purpose is. Airliners are falling out of the sky. Airliners are colliding with military helicopters. What else is going on? What else did we miss in January of 2025? And I'm here to tell you today, before you take that seatbelt off, you may want to leave it on just a little bit longer, because it looks like the forecast ahead is going to get even more bumpy. So let's go for a ride today. Let's go.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, guys? It's Sunday, February 2nd. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are now out of the month of January. Thank the Lord. And I don't know about you, but I'm very thankful that, number one, that I am still on this side of heaven. There's a lot of people, guys, that have gone on into eternity. The month of January of 2025 it's going to go down in history as one of the roughest months, in my opinion, that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, everything I talked about at the introduction of this, but we could talk about the extreme weather that's taken place. Think about all these things that happened in just 1 month of 2025. And I want to give you an update today on some events that I see coming down the road, coming down the pike really early on, that's going to come quickly, that we need to be paying attention to, and I want to get you up to par with that. But before we get into that, can you guys do me a favor? Go ahead and hit that like button. That's going to help push our content out there. It's going to get eyes on our podcast here on YouTube and Rumble or wherever you may be watching this. And listen, if you're listening by podcast, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, if you enjoy our content, if it's of any value to you, let us know by giving us a good review. You could type out something if you feel led. That's going to help us get eyes on our podcast as well. And listen, you could do a step further. If you're watching a visual of this, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. This is going to inform you on these platforms when we go live and when we put out our next video. And I always like to tell everybody the best way to keep up with our content, if you've not yet done this, download our free app. Again, it's available free on Apple and Android devices. All you got to do is go to your Play Store, download it today, hit yes to push notifications, and then you're going to be notified every headline, every podcast, breaking news, viewpoint segments, prophecy updates. Everything's going to be right at your fingertips. So I want to we're going to cover a few stories today. I don't want to take a lot of your time today because it is Sunday. I realize a lot of people are relaxing with their families. They're going to church. They're watching this and they're doing that. And I get that. So we'll try to keep this around 30 minutes. I want to give you an update on the Black Hawk and the airline incident. The Black Hawk crashing into this airliner, this American Airlines flight over Washington, D.C. Some new information has come out about this, and I want to give you that information. I thought this was interesting. Here's the headline. This is from the New York Post. Black Hawk in D.C. plane crash was practicing top secret continuity of government mission in the event of attack on U.S. soil. Let me read this here. The doomed military helicopter that collided with an American Airlines flight over Washington, D.C. last week was conducting training to prepare for a catastrophic event or attack on U.S., according to officials. The crew aboard the UH-60 Black Hawk chopper, which was the 12th Aviation Battalion, is responsible for top secret evacuation missions meant to whisk top U.S. officials from D.C. to secure locations in the case of a national emergency, such as a terrorist or nuclear attack. I want you to keep this in the forefront of your mind, because I'm gonna incorporate the drones into this. Because remember, I'll get to it in just a minute. I don't want to jump ahead of this, but I highlighted that for a reason. We're gonna revisit this, and I'm gonna throw another angle out here. In a press conference this past Thursday night, U.S. Defense Secretary said the soldiers, quote, were on a routine annual retraining of night flights on a standard corridor for a continuity, of government mission. Okay, this is the official report from the U.S. Defense Secretary, the setting U.S. Defense Secretary. He went on further, said that, quote, he couldn't reveal further details on anything that's classified. And of course, this includes these drones as well, and we'll show you that in just a minute. Quote, the military does dangerous things. It does routine things on a regular basis. Typically, crews like the one killed on the Black Hawk transport Washington elites in and out of the heavily trafficked airspace and around Reagan National Airport, one of the busiest in the nation. Now, guys, I'm going to highlight this, and here's why. Let's talk about this for a second. If this Black Hawk transport chopper, its sole mission, its entire purpose is to, and I quote, transport Washington elites in and out of heavy trafficked airspace around Reagan National Airport. Now, guys, this just deepens the conspiracy that's centered around this incident, because they're trained for this. They have been trained to maneuver around heavy traffic in the skies in and out of this area in this region around Reagan National Airport. This makes this even more bizarre, because, why am I saying that? Because if you're like me, and all of us has evaluated this footage, we've seen it. And everybody comes to this general consensus that why and how did this military helicopter that we now know was involved in a top secret mission, I should say highly classified mission, but it's really not, because I'm going to show you we knew about this. We reported about this. This was made public. Now, not the details of it, but now we're given the details of it. How could this chopper, which again is military, whose sole purpose and sole mission and training is to transport elites in Washington from one location to another, howbeit out of D.C., and transport them to another location? How in the world did it just, when again you look at the footage and it just flies and it's directed directly at this aircraft? It did not, even the president of the United States, guys, got out and he tweeted. It didn't go up. Why didn't it go down? Why didn't it go around? How did this happen on a clear night? Again, this is heavily shrouded in controversy. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't think we're going to fully know what happened. I don't think they're ever going to be that transparent about this, and we may never know. Now, I do know that there was 3 military officials in this, one of which they did not disclose the individual for a time being, but then they finally revealed that the name of the woman. And it, again, this is all, there's no point in going into detail about that, because that's not really what I want to talk about tonight. Because we could bring up her name and details and all that and et cetera. And they've already scrubbed the social media site, which again, it's interesting that there was enough time before they released her name. There was enough time given to whomever to scrub social media. Now, that's just interesting to me. I'm just throwing that out there. That is interesting to me. I'm just saying. But wouldn't you think, again, I'm not in the military, guys, so I don't know. Maybe somebody who has served in the Air Force, served in the military, served in the Navy, maybe if they're listening, they're watching, you're watching by the live chat, maybe you can chime in. Help me out here. If this is If this is a Black Hawk transport helicopter whose sole mission was to transport elites from Washington from one location to another, howbeit out of heavily trafficked area, in the event of, and I quote, an incident like terrorism or a nuclear attack, this would be the last vehicle that I would anticipate would make such a grave mistake as crashing into an American Airlines commercial flight. Again, I'd love to hear your comments. Chime in below. The Army has come under scrutiny for allowing pilots to train at night near a high-traffic airport and a chopper that was not equipped with new technology that would have alerted air traffic control of its path. But officials, including Hegseth, have pointed to the sensitive nature of such operations. Quote, you need to rehearse in ways that would reflect a real-world scenario. So there's his, this is going to be his response to this. The chopper was traveling along a core training route, but was flying near twice as high as aviation guidelines permit. Why? Again, how are these crucial mistakes being made? Now, here's one of the crew members. This Staff Sergeant Ryan Austin O'Hara was the crew chief of the Black Hawk helicopter involved in the tragic accident on Wednesday. Now, in case you didn't know, this highly classified mission they're talking about, here's more details on this. Agencies participating in, quote, large-scale nuclear incident training exercise around the region. Now, I believe this is one and the same training exercise, even though it's in a different location. Even though this incident took place as far as the Black Hawks crashing into the American Airlines flight, this training, this large-scale nuclear incident training exercise, all took place around the New York region. Over the next several days, and again, this was posted on Saturday, January 25th, so this has already happened, and it was a several-day exercise, which was a, quote, large-scale multi-agency nuclear incident training exercise. Again, this large-scale exercise, multi-agency nuclear incident training exercise took place in the vicinity of Schenectady, New York, and surrounding counties of Albany and Saratoga. According to the FBI, for the dates of the 26th to the 31st of January, the Departments of Defense, Department of Energy, National Nuclear Security Administration, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Homeland Security, and state and local partners all conducted this exercise in several areas, again, of these regions of New York, these counties of New York, as part of a series of regularly scheduled U.S. government biannual exercises. Similar trainings have been conducted in various regions across the U.S. since 2012, and we now know that one of those regions is in D.C., and this is what this Black Hawk helicopter was a part of. They went on to say that these exercises began. The visible activity throughout the area will begin on Monday. Again, this was on the 26th to the 31st. So again, this has already taken place. Several local and state law enforcement, fire, emergency management, and public health agencies also participated in the training, including New York State Police, Albany, again, Saratoga, and these other counties there as well. Now, look, I want to read this here. According to the FBI, the exercise is an opportunity for, quote, participating entities to participate and enhance operational readiness to respond in the event of a nuclear incident in the U.S. overseas. Now, the reason why this is intriguing to me is because, do you remember when all the drone incursion began to happen? It began to make headline news all over New Jersey, all over New York, all over different locations, especially New Jersey, New York. And then local, state, these three-letter agencies, all of these, they were completely, well, we don't know what they are. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're from. We don't know what the point of it is. We don't know what their purpose. We don't know their mission. They all played dumb. But we now know, they knew, and they know what they're for. I believe, in my personal opinion, I believe these drones were and are present tense a part of these exercises that are going on. These are highly technologically sophisticated drones that are being used for these exercises to prepare in the event of a nuclear attack, a weapon of mass destruction, a dirty bomb, whatever the case may be, on U.S. soil. I believe that 100%. That's what my belief is, and that's why our president came out and he made this statement. I want to show you this. Quote, Trump's update on New Jersey drones is, quote, this was not the enemy. Now I'm going to read to you his official statement. We've all seen it. Most of us saw the press conference in which, again, quote, after research and study, the drones that were flying over, I like how he says that were, as if they're not still doing it, because they are. When the FAA dropped their regulations, these drones started reemerging and appearing again. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were, quote, authorized, look at this, to be flown by the FAA for, quote, research and various other reasons. Well, I think we know what those various other reasons are. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. And in time, it got worse due to, quote, curiosity. This was, quote, not the enemy. And this was according to official White House press conference that was released last week. Quote, it is unclear what sort of research was conducted. And they did not specify what, quote, various other reasons may be. She went on even to say that they did not detail who owned and piloted the drones. Okay, so guys, the general consensus here is they're preparing big time. Don't miss the big picture of this. These officials, these elites, the governments, all of these individuals are all preparing for something big coming. They all know it. They're anticipating it. We have seen in 2024, there was countless warnings that went out from the FBI, the CIA, and the National Security, Homeland Security. All of them have warned that it's only a matter of time before another major attack comes on U.S. soil. So in my opinion, that's what's going on. That's why we're seeing all of these drills taking place. I believe that's what these drones are. Now, remember, in the very beginning of this, there was some, alleged leaked information that came out that these were nuke sniffers, and they were scanning and they were conducting these flight simulations, and they were going over certain areas of highly classified areas, again, military bases, airports. And that's another thing that's interesting too. Isn't it interesting that all these drones were spotted around airports, and now all of a sudden we got all these crazy things happening with flights? We've had just in a week span, in a 1 week span, unheard of, guys, unprecedented. The last major airline incident, like we just saw, was 15 years ago, where there was a collision or something like that, where we lost that many lives. And then 2 nights later, we had this what was it, a Cessna plane or some type of Lear jet? I think it was a Lear jet. And to this day, we still don't know the full details of what happened. This thing came down like a missile and struck in Philadelphia. And people are getting a little uneasy about flying and traveling. And then just today, guys, that there was another incident that took place. There was a report that came out that there was a United Airlines flight from Houston to New York evacuated after a, quote, engine issue was reported. So it's like, and I kind of get the feel or the heartbeat of social media in the comments, and people are a little uneasy about flying and traveling through airlines. What in the world's going on? And this doesn't include, and guys, I could bring up the Boeing situation. We could talk about all the mid-flight crazy turbulence things that happen. And there's just a lot of stuff that's going on with airplanes and flights and airline industries. And it's very disturbing, to say the least. All right, so we got, now let me refresh your memory. I said January was crazy and we made it through it. But again, don't take off your seatbelt, because again, from the information that we're gathering here, it's almost as if our government is anticipating something going down on U.S. soil. Okay, and I know nobody wants to talk about this. This is a situation that's happening. Again, now I understand that our audience is going to be conflicted on this. You're going to have a split. You're going to have people that there are some that say this is not happening. This is false. It's fabricated. It's lies. And then you've got another group that says, well, I do believe it's happening, but I believe it's being manipulated by certain forces. And I got to be careful how I word this because we want to keep this up on the air for a cynical reason, a nefarious purpose behind it. Now, of course, what I'm talking about is the bird flu, quote unquote, outbreak. Now, here's the latest on this. And now, why am I talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about this, guys, is because this is something I believe that we're all going to be staring down the barrel of. This is coming right at us. These so-called experts have told us that it's not a matter of if, but when. They said this thing is only a couple or a few mutations away from going human to human. Okay? This latest report is saying that the poultry experts are warning that this current bird flu outbreak is, and I quote, the worst in U.S. history. It started back in 2022. The avian flu outbreak that has been increasing egg prices and even killing non-bird animals isn't expected to slow down anytime soon. Quote, it's the largest outbreak of bird flu in the U.S. history. This is according to Lincoln University poultry extension specialist, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name here. According to Fisher, bird flu is spread by the bodily fluids of migrating birds, especially waterfowl. Contact with egg-laying hens can occur if wild birds share water or food with domestic birds or defecating on or in an enclosure. This means both commercial and backyard farms, are susceptible to the virus. Quote, most people, when they hear about bird flu, they assume it's something in commercial flocks, that there's something about keeping large groups of birds together that causing them to get sick, but that's, quote, not the case with this. Additionally, bird flu has been found in humans who frequently work with poultry, dairy cows, and a pet who ingested raw infected chicken. Quote, this outbreak is the first outbreak where we have seen bird flu affect species that were not poultry species, that were not some kind of a bird. Again, this is according to this quote unquote expert on this bird flu. Fisher advises bird owners to keep from coming into contact with wild animals, cover enclosures, and avoid bringing birds to farm shows or swaps. Fisher adds that most facilities, if bird flu is found, will stop the selling of any products. Now, I know here in my state of Georgia, they've shut down multiple poultry distributors because of this. Additionally, bird flu is killed in high heat, so thoroughly cooking eggs or chicken will remove any possible viruses. When it comes to eggs and meat and those kinds of things, they're not leaving those facilities. So any facility where bird flu has been found, those animals are not entering the food chain. I guess that's a typo how they wrote that. Fisher's main concern is raw meat and raw milk, which should be avoided and not given to pets. So again, this is something that I believe, again, it's picking up pace, guys. This is like the snowball at the top of the hill that's rolling and it's picking up momentum. It's gathering, it's getting bigger and bigger, and eventually it's going to hit us right smack in the face. So you need to be prepared for that. Now, speaking of something that's going to hit us right smack in the face, I don't know if you're keeping up with this, but I want to show you this article. All right, Trump has officially put tariffs. We're talking about 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and he's put tariffs on China, spurring trade war as North American allies respond. Let's read a little bit about this. President Donald Trump on Saturday signed an order to impose stiff tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China, drawing swift retaliation and undeniable sense of betrayal from the country's North American neighbors as a trade war erupted among the lifetime allies. Trump posted on social media that the tariffs were necessary to, quote, protect Americans, pressing the three nations to do more to curb the manufacture and export of illicit fentanyl and for Canada and Mexico to reduce illegal immigration into the U.S. Now, according to report, again, this is not my opinion. I'm just reading to you the reports. You do what you want with it. The tariffs, if sustained, could, quote, cause inflation to significantly worsen, threatening trust that many voters place in Trump to lower the prices of groceries, gasoline, housing, autos, and other goods as he promised. They also risked throwing the global economy and Trump's political mandate into, quote, turmoil just 2 weeks into his second term. Now, I want to read this. And again, this is what they're saying we could expect to see from the repercussion of this. Mexico and Canada supply a significant share of several key food categories. For example, Mexico is the largest supplier of fruit and veggies to the U.S., while Canada leads in exports of grain, livestock, and meats, poultry, and more. Agricultural products from Mexico and Canada in particular could become more expensive for consumers as grocery retailers operate on thinner profit margins than most industries. With little room to absorb higher tariff costs, the grocers may have to pass them on to shoppers, aka that would be you and I. Although the U.S. typically exports more agricultural goods than it imports, the value of imports has increased faster than that of exports in the past decade, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Additionally, of course, they're going to use the CC word, has increased U.S. reliance on countries like Mexico where growing conditions are more favorable. Again, last year, the U.S. imported $46 billion of agricultural products from Mexico and includes $8.3 billion worth of fresh vegetables, $5.9 billion of beer, and $5 billion of distilled spirits. But the biggest category of agricultural imports from Mexico last year was fresh fruits, of which the U.S. imported $9 billion worth. So let me translate this to you. According to these experts, we could see a huge spike in inflation in grocery prices. So just be expecting that. Then fuel and energy. The U.S. imported $97 billion worth of oil and gas from Canada last year that country's top export to the U.S. The U.S. has become more reliant on Canadian oil since the expansion of Canada's Trans Mountain Pipeline. Again, this is according to data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The tariff on Canadian energy products is only 10%, not the 25% tariff announced on other Canadian exports. That'll limit the impact on gas prices, which is the global head of energy analysis. So we better be very thankful for that. However, another factor is the time of year. Gas prices are typically near a low for the year in February due to weak demand. If the tariffs stay in place through summer, the impact will be greater. All right, I'm gonna let's read on down here. Cars and car parts. The U.S. imported $87 billion worth of motor vehicles and $64 billion worth of vehicle parts from Mexico last year. And again, not accounting for December, the top two goods imported from there last year. This is according to Commerce Department data. Motor vehicles were also the second largest good to the U.S. imported from Canada last year through November for a total of $34 billion. And then we have steel. While the U.S. is not the manufacturing-focused economy it once was, it still consumes tens of millions of tons of steel a year, feeding industries such as automaking, oil production, construction, and infrastructure. Canada and Mexico are the largest and third largest exporters of steel, in the U.S. respectively. In his first term, President Trump imposed tariffs of 25% on steel imports from most nations worldwide, effective on June 2018. But Mexico and Canada, under the free trade deals with the U.S., were exempt from the tariffs. Canada now accounts for nearly a quarter of steel imported by American businesses by weight, while Mexico accounts for 12%. Again, this is all according to the government data provided by the American Iron and Steel Institute. However, there is empirical evidence showing that 2018 tariffs on steel and aluminum did raise prices. Again, this was according to research there. Then you have the beer and alcohol. That's going to significantly go up. Most of our people here, I would think that most of our people this wouldn't really affect you unless you were drinking this stuff. But that's a whole other thing going on anyway. Home construction and furniture, softwood lumber, which is sourced from the likes of pine, spruce, firs, and other conifers, is prized for its lightweight workability and strength. As such, its applications are vast, but it's a critical ingredient in the U.S. home building industry. Commonly, the skeleton and skin of homes, the framing, the roof, the siding, consist of softwood lumber, and 30% of what the U.S. annually uses comes from Canada. Again, consumer electronics are also among the top goods that U.S. imported from China last year. This includes cell phones, TVs, laptops, video game consoles, monitors, and all the components that power them. China also is a major supplier of home appliances, and those along with toys and footwear are particularly exposed to Trump's tariff threats. A staggering 99% of shoes sold in the U.S. are imported, according to Footwear Distributors and Retailers of America. So, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, how do you see this playing out? Is this something that we're gonna feel the effects right away? Is this going to be like a tsunami of inflation coming in that's going to affect all these sectors? The food industry, the electronic industry, the commercial industry, the lumber industry, the steel industry. Are we going to see this? Or is this something that's going to be kind of like a stone that's thrown into a lake and there's the initial impact, but then the ripples go out and we may not feel it for 3 months or 6 months down the road? Or will we feel it at all? Is this fear-mongering from the mainstream media? So again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, because I know we have split opinions on this, how people feel, and again, that's why we always like to open up this dialogue and hear your thoughts on this. So, guys, so let's recap this. So, I see some bumps in the road along the way, even though we've made it through January. Now we're heading into February, and again, it looks as if our government and our leaders are preparing for a possible terror attack, a nuclear attack, or something on U.S. soil. We're seeing that all indicators are revealing to us, whether we agree with it, whether we deny it, whether we ignore it, that this quote unquote bird flu, again, we're going to be staring down the barrel of this thing in some way, some form or fashion. Is this the next pandemic? I don't know, but we're going to see. And then we have these tariffs that have now been implemented against Mexico, against Canada, and against China. And again, we just went through what that could potentially spell for Americans here at abroad. So again, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com on this Sunday afternoon. Something, again, to buckle up and get ready for and prepare for the best that you know how. Again, we'd love for you guys to keep up with us. Again, don't forget, download our free app. Hit yes to push notifications so you can be notified of every headline, every podcast when it's readily available. Guys, listen, we are our ministry is a partner-supported ministry. We operate out of our partners' generous support. So if you're blessed by our ministry, it informs you, equips you, all of the above. Maybe, I don't know your relationship with this ministry, but whatever it looks like, pray about becoming a monthly partner. You can do that 2 different ways. You can give electronically, right there on the website through the app. There's different ways you can give electronically, or you can give by check or money order. And you can do that at End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia, 30655. Now, guys, I'd love for you to stick around just a moment. I got some announcements. Number one is, remember, tomorrow night, Monday night, is our 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern live devotional and prayer. These things have been great. They've been powerful, and we've had a good outcome that's showing up. We've had a good amount of people that's coming in for this on live on Monday nights, even with Monday Night Football and everything that's playing out. And I believe now that now that the NFL's coming to a close, I hope and expect that number to grow. Again, we'd love for you to be a part of this. And if you're not, come on over here to YouTube, subscribe to us so you can be a part of these live broadcasts. And guys, I appreciate your prayers. Tomorrow afternoon, on Monday afternoon, I am doing a podcast, not me hosting it, but I am going to be participating in. I am the guest where I'm going to be, I guess it's a podcast, but it's almost like an interview. We've got, and I'll give you more details about this once it's done, so then I can give you the link. But we're going to be sharing a lot of information that maybe you never know about our ministry, how it got started, when it got started, why do we do what we do, what our mission statement is, all kinds of views of my personal opinion, what do I see coming in the future for America. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. This is going to be a great segment. I'm excited about this. Again, once it's complete, we'll put up the link, and again, this is not going to be End Time Headlines hosting this. Again, we are going to be a guest on another podcast. And then next week also, we are working on trying to get Michael Snyder to come on as a guest here at End Time Headlines. We'll keep you informed about that. We've got other guests lined up. We've got a whole jam-packed week lined up, and we're going to kick it off tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So until then, I pray that the Lord bless you, may He keep you, and may His countenance shine upon you. We'll see you tomorrow, Lord willing.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.